Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Life Chats. Today, we're diving into a classic debate, village life versus city life. I've got my friend Tom here to weigh in. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm excited to chat about this. It's a topic I've thought about a lot, especially since I've experienced both worlds.
Great. So let's jump in. How would you describe your experiences living in both a city and a village?
Well, I grew up in a small village with open fields, close-knit neighbors, and a slower pace. Later, I moved to the city for work. It was a huge change. Suddenly I was surrounded by crowds, skyscrapers, and a much faster lifestyle.
Sounds like a big shift. What were some of the biggest differences you noticed right away?
Definitely the noise. In the village, nights are quiet. You hear crickets or the wind rustling. But in the city, it's non-stop. Cars honking, people talking, construction. It took a while to adjust to that constant buzz.
I get that. I had a similar experience when I moved to the city. The sounds, the people, it's like sensory overload. But on the flip side, there's something kind of energizing about it. Did you feel that too?
Oh, for sure. That energy is part of what drew me in. The city has this vibrancy, like something's always happening. There are so many events, restaurants, and places to explore. It's exciting.
Exactly. There's always a new cafe or a gallery opening. But I bet you miss certain things about the village. What do you think you miss the most?
Honestly, I miss the sense of community. In the village, everyone knows each other. If you need help, someone's there. In the city, it's easy to feel anonymous. You can live next to someone and never even know their name.
Yeah, I've felt that too. Sometimes it's hard to build connections because people are so busy. In a village, it feels more natural to strike up conversations. Plus, people are usually more laid back.
Exactly. There's a slower pace that feels grounding, I guess. Like, in the village, people take the time to say hi on the street or sit together for a cup of tea. I miss that slower rhythm sometimes.
I love that word, grounding. It does feel that way. But there are pros to that fast-paced life too, right? I feel like the city pushes me to be more productive and ambitious. Do you feel that?
Absolutely. I think the city kind of motivates you. Everyone's working hard, chasing dreams. It's inspiring. In the village, I felt comfortable, but in the city, I feel challenged. I think that can be a good thing.
For sure. I feel like the city brings out a side of me that's more ambitious, more open to new experiences. But it can also be exhausting. Do you find yourself craving quiet after a while?
Oh, totally. Sometimes I feel like I need a reset, so I'll go back to the village for a weekend. It's like pressing pause. I'll go for a walk, see some familiar faces, and just breathe.
That sounds so nice. Do you think that's one of the biggest perks of village life? Just the calmness of it?
Definitely. There's space to think, to relax. And nature is right there. In the city, finding green space can be hard. But in the village, you're surrounded by fields, rivers. It's so peaceful.
Nature is such a big plus. I feel like in the city, we're always searching for parks or a bit of green. I miss the open skies and fresh air when I visit my family's village. Do you think people underestimate how much that affects mental health?
Absolutely. I think being in nature has a calming effect. It's like therapy, honestly. In the village, you get that daily. In the city, you have to make a real effort to find it.
Yeah, like booking a day trip to the nearest park. But then in the city, you have easy access to things you don't get in the village. Like, I love being able to go to a museum or see live music whenever I want.
Oh, for sure. The city has so much to offer. I love the diversity, too. You meet people from all over, hear different languages, try new foods. It's a whole world within a city.
Yes, the diversity is a huge plus. You learn so much from meeting people with different backgrounds and perspectives. The city brings the world to your doorstep, which I love.
Same. I think that's a big reason why I love the city. It's enriching. But do you ever feel overwhelmed by it? Like all the options, all the people, it can feel like too much sometimes.
Definitely. Sometimes I just want to get away from the hustle and bustle to recharge. It's funny because I think that's one of the big reasons people say they'd prefer village life. They want simplicity, fewer choices.
Yes. In the village, things are straightforward. You have one grocery store, one cafe. It sounds limiting, but in a way, it's refreshing. There's less pressure to keep up or make decisions.
Exactly. Less noise in all senses, literal and figurative. But then I also appreciate the city's opportunities. Like in the city, you have so many options for career growth. Do you think that's a big part of why people move to cities?
Definitely. The city is full of opportunities, both professionally and socially. You have access to big companies, events, networking, things that can be hard to find in a village.
Right. So, I guess it depends on what you're looking for. If you want stability and close-knit connections, the village life has that. But if you're looking for opportunities and a faster pace, the city is the place.
Absolutely. It's all about your priorities. For example, if you're starting a family, a village might be ideal because of the close community. But if you're focused on career growth, the city is probably better.
That's true. And even things like cost of living come into play. Cities can be so expensive.
Yes, that's a huge factor. In the village, you can get a decent-sized house for what you'd pay for a small apartment in the city. It's a big consideration, especially as housing prices keep going up.
Definitely. I think cost is a big reason people leave cities, too. But then in the village, you might have to drive a long way to access certain things, like healthcare or good schools.
That's true. In a village, you might have one small clinic, and for anything major, you'd have to drive to the nearest town. And, of course, there aren't as many entertainment options.
Right. You don't have cinemas or theaters. And nightlife is definitely quieter. In the city, you can go out at any time. But in the village, things tend to shut down early.
Yes, that's a big difference. In the village, life follows a natural rhythm. You wake up with the sun, things are quieter at night. It's slower, but it's also refreshing.
It sounds like you really appreciate both worlds. If you had to choose, though, where would you settle down long term?
Ooh, tough question. I think I'd choose the village. I love the city, but for long-term peace, I'd want the calm and community of the village.
That makes sense. It's like the village is for the heart and the city is for the mind, if that makes sense.
Yes, exactly. The village feels like home in a way the city doesn't, even though I love both.
Well, I think you've made a great case for both sides. Thanks so much for sharing your insights, Tom. This has been so interesting.
Thank you, Sarah. I love talking about it. There's no right choice, but it's fun to explore the differences.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. That wraps up today's episode. Whether you're a city lover or a village soul, I hope this gave you some food for thought. Until next time.